Hello, guys. Happy Monday. I'm so happy to be here. So, my name is Luis Xavier, and I'm my it's live, right? Happens. It's amazing. So, my team and I help business owners and course creators to increase their sales by getting them qualified leads on autopilot. Today, we have here this amazing copywriter I actually worked with. I'm so excited to have her here. Her name is Shani Taylor. Shani is a copywriter and content creator for entrepreneurs and business owners. Who so excited. It must be Monday, right? Live feeds is always the best. So Shani is a copywriter and content creator for entrepreneurs and business owners who are taking their business to the next level of success, and she helps them to connect with an even greater number of people in the market and increase their business growth with compelling copy. Hello, Shani, how you doing?
Good morning, and yes, it is Monday here in Australia, although it is Sunday evening in the US. So wherever you are, I hope that you're a little more awake than what we are.
Oh man, I'm struggling.
Before we went live, and we're both stumbling over our words. So let's bring energy.
This is it. So we want you guys in the US to start Monday, like super energetic. Love it. Oh my God, I love it. It's live, so part of the fun. All right, Shani, let's get started. So much to know about you. Straight from Canberra, hey?
Yeah, but don't tell people that. It's don't hold it against me. Canberra's an interesting place. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, it depends who goes there and what they see, right? I went there and it was interesting. And I had a friend.
You made a really great comment, Lewis, when we first started chatting. Actually,
yeah,
we were talking when we met, and you were saying, where are you from? Doing all the social niceties. And when I said I'm from, I live in Canberra at the moment, you're like, well, that's a good place to write because it's really quiet. Yeah, there's not much going on, so it's a great place to write.
Yeah. Well, I did have a mate that went there, and he's into wars and all that stuff. And apparently, there's a museum or Anzac something. I don't know. He went there and he loved it. He was like, I could see all the planes and the entire story and history and everything, and he was so excited. He's like, you must go there. And I'm like, no, thank you. But yeah, it was it was interesting. But all right, cool. Let's talk about you. So what do? You're a copywriter, but you also, my God, you're also a lawyer apparently, right?
Apparently.
Yeah. So how did everything get started?
All right. So actually, interestingly enough, I got asked this question last week, and I thought that maybe it would be wise to add a little more flair to my answer today, because upon reflection, I didn't really talk about my story too much. So I'll give you a really succinct version.
Yeah, go for it. Love it.
Where it's all come from, really. So in terms of writing, I mean, I absolutely love writing. And that love of writing started as a young child, and it was a way for me to express myself in a really meaningful way, and thinking through things first. So the love of writing started as a child, but in terms of where I've come from, so I was out of home at a really young age. I left school and home at around 16. And started my career in a commission-only sales job selling insurance. So I don't think it gets much tougher than that from a sales perspective. But it was a really great place to sink my teeth into learning about sales. And commission only, I mean, it's very similar to the journey of an entrepreneur, because you don't know where your next sale's coming from. And you've got all those ups and downs. So it was a great place to start. I then landed in recruitment and worked my way, grew a career in recruitment, and ultimately ended up managing a recruitment agency. So again, there's a lot of sales involved in recruitment, but I was also writing professionally as a agency manager, because you're writing job descriptions, you're writing adverts to attract candidates, to attract clients. So I continued to write professionally throughout all of my career. And then in 2011, I experienced an event that left me with PTSD, and by society standards, would label me as a victim in that particular experience. And I did label myself as a victim for a while as well. But that event changed the entire trajectory of my life. So, as I said, I left school at a young age. I didn't finish school. And then we fast forward to 2011. And once I dealt with that PTSD, I decided to go to university as a mature age student. So I went to university. And while I was studying full time and as a single mother, I was also working as a freelance or contract writer. And I was taking on about 50 hours a week of work in addition to the other things that I had going on. So I finished an undergrad and then a postgrad law degree, all while continuing to write as a freelancer or a contractor. And during that period, I also got introduced to an amazing man called Dr. John Demartini, who again, contributed significantly to my life. But that helped me to realize that actually I don't want to become a lawyer. But continued to finish my law degree. And when I got to the end of my law degree, I continued writing in a professional capacity because I'd already done it for so many years. But the next step for me was about giving myself permission to become an entrepreneur and write about things that are meaningful to me. And so now here we are.
I love that. That's so cool. And to be honest, I really love the fact that, something happened in your life and you had the chance to be, I guess, miserable, or be like, all right, maybe this is a sign. Let's do something about it. Let's, spin things around and, make it happen in a different way. And it's exciting. I love it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty brave from you. So yeah. And I'm glad that you're a copywriter now, helping people, and, and you've got some superpowers. Do you want to talk about your superpowers?
So I guess just to lead on from what we were just speaking about, I think whether or not you've had, a traumatic experience or not, the power of mentors in helping you to achieve whatever it is that you are designed to do is so, so important. And so I'd been writing for so many years in a professional capacity. I'd even been writing, 50 hours a week while I'm studying this law degree. So I was continuing to fulfill the thing that I was born to do, but I hadn't yet given myself permission to be powerful in that. So I'm off chasing a law degree while I'm still doing the thing that I love to do and being paid for it as a writer. But it wasn't until I met, some amazing mentors, including Dr. John Demartini and a series of people that have come out of that community, that allowed me to give myself permission to do now what I love to do. And what I love to do is help people share their mission and their message with the world. So I get to contribute and change lives through my clients. We've all got such a really powerful service to offer the world, but sometimes we don't know how to share that message in a way that's meaningful to others. And so that's where I come in. My superpower is my ability to empathize with my client, the original author, and empathize with their target audience so that the two of them come together and create really meaningful partnerships where, my client gets to serve their audience, but equally their audience gets to be served and have their life changed. And that's the power of words.
I love that. And it's like the words are so powerful, isn't it? You can literally change how everything is perceived. It's quite interesting. And I mean, my background is actually like IT, but I'm from Brazil, and the way we describe the words in Portuguese and the way we say everything is completely different. And
well, it's back to front, right? So I've got Brazilian heritage, and so Portuguese, Spanish, Italian, it's quite similar. Everything.
That's right.
So when you come and learn English, it's quite confusing.
It is very confusing, yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, yeah. I love that. So All right, so you just spoke about something that really resonated with me about, having to, serve and have the ability, like we all have the ability to help others. And I think it's huge. And that's why I chose to do everything I do, like, because I work with course creators and allow them to market their courses. They're already professionals. They already know what they want. But most of the time, when they first start, they have that thing in the back of their mind. They're like, am I a professional? Should I actually be doing that? And as you mentioned before, you're like, well, I gave myself permission to do it. So how do you go through this process? Like how, can someone allow themselves to, permit themselves to actually do that as well? I think that's very important. Like, is there anything that you could share with those people that are going through that?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that, and it will depend on the person and what is going to have the most impact for them in terms of how they, lead themselves through a journey of giving themselves permission. And, this is also vitally important from a copy or a content perspective, because the way that we receive a message will vary depending on who we are. And so equally, when we're sharing a message, particularly say, for example, through what you've just mentioned about course creators. So I work with course creators as well, as you know, and I always, share with them the importance of making sure that their course is easily digestible for the different learning styles of their audience. And this will involve having video, audio, worksheets, checklists, make it really easy for people to get that result. So when we come back to talking about giving ourselves permission, there's an emotional side and there's a scientific side, I think. And, when I say scientific, it's really important to have processes in place. Because when you've got frameworks that you're working within, it takes some of the fear and the guesswork out of it. So if you're an existing entrepreneur or a coach or consultant, and, as we all do, we have those days where we doubt ourselves, we fear that we're not good enough. The thing that we can fall back on in those hardship days is our frameworks and our processes. That's what keeps us on the straight and narrow. And so what I mean by that is having time every single day that is dedicated to your prospecting, to your serving of clients. So you've got it mapped out. So no matter how you're feeling on that day, you're doing the action that leads to the result. And the importance of that over time is that regardless of how you feel on a particular day, when you continue with your framework, it builds up over time. The results continue to happen. So you're not being led by an emotion, rather you're being the leader. So there's that framework there. But then from an emotional side, I think it is just so important to have a community and to have mentors. And particularly when we are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, we need to have access to people who we can call and can remind us of our greatness when we need it, but equally to pull us down off our pedestal when we've gotten a little bit cocky, because otherwise that's what leads to those days of feeling like crap, right? Like what goes up must come back down.
100%. Framework is huge. Like everything you said, I second that. It's amazing. Framework is huge because it helps you to build momentum. You continue improve. What you're doing, and it doesn't allow you to stop and stagnate. Like in my first business, I actually went all in, and I had a lot of energy, and I got a lot of clients. And I was super excited, got like a crazy, amazing month. And then I was very busy delivering all that work. And then after that, I had no clients because I wasn't prospecting, you know what I mean? So So it's quite interesting. So I love that. It's really interesting. So in terms of clients, what sort of clients do you have? Like, who do you work with?
So I predominantly work with people who have established a business as a coach or a consultant generally. So generally not people who are just getting started out, but perhaps they've even been, they've had some traction over the last few months. But more so, people come to me who are established, and for two reasons. they understand that their time is best spent on their highest profit producing tasks. Generally, copy isn't one of them. Otherwise, they would be a copywriter. Now, copywriting is highly, highly valuable because it connects us with our audience and it brings in the revenue. It brings in, it attracts the prospects to us so that we can serve. But for a general entrepreneur or business owner, spending a few hours a day writing their copy is not where they're going to build their income. Their time is best spent speaking with their audience, and selling and serving. So that's why people come to me. But the other reason is because of my ability to craft and create content in a way that is both meaningful to my client but also to their audience, so that it builds their business. It gives them more people to serve.
I love it. That's so cool. And what sort of copy do you usually create for your clients? Is it more content? Is it like, I'll let you do it. Okay.
There's a wide range. And again, there's sort of two components. There's a sales and conversion element to what I do. And then there's the course creation. So I currently work with people who are developing or building out their courses. And, I'm currently in the process of building an entire course for one client, but then other clients are engaging me to build certain parts of their course. And that could be something like the work lists and, the checklists and the worksheets for their course, because these things are so, so important. Your student, it's really hard when you're delivering a course. It's not one-on-one. You don't have that control, right? You don't have that element of control to handhold people to get the outcome. When you're dealing with the delivery of a course, as I said, you need to make it really digestible for people, but also make it easy for them to get the outcome. Because if they don't get the outcome from your course, who are they going to blame?
100%.
They're not going to blame
I agree.
themselves, right? They're going to blame you. So I work with course creators to really make those outcomes viable for their students, so that the students then go on to recommend the course. Everyone's happy. Then there's the sales and conversion copy. And that's, content creation, it's websites, it's email marketing. And, something actually that I really love doing, that I'm doing a lot of at the moment, is I've got clients who, particularly because coaches tend to speak, they like to speak rather than write. So I've got coaches who I work with at the moment who we get on a 1-hour Zoom call once a week. They speak to me, they brain dump for an hour, and then I go away and I create their content for the week. So they're getting to communicate with their market, but they're communicating for 1 hour a week, and then everything's taken care of for them. And I really enjoy that.
This is amazing. I love that. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. So
if you knew that you could spend 1 hour a week to create and, meaningful relationships with your audience and convert those people into clients, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
100%. Yeah. That's time well invested. That's so cool. Because I believe that I think you actually told me that, like, once we were talking, you mentioned that when you have a course, different people will learn in different ways. So, you could be doing live chats and you could be, teaching through the group and all sorts of stuff. But some people, they actually want to read. They actually want to have a PDF. So it really depends, like, what sort of style they have in terms of learning. I actually mentioned, like, for me, I like videos to learn, for the first time. But if I ever need to go back to the material, I actually rather go and check an ebook.
It's quicker and easier, right?
100%, yeah. So it's good to have both, So it's a good mix. So what you think you would be like? What would be your speciality in copywriting?
Look, I think it is that it's that superpower, it's that ability. It's almost like putting on personas of who I work with and their audience. Now, I'm an introvert by nature, and I say this regularly, but I'm an introvert with a personality. And I'm not saying that introverts don't have a personality, so don't take that the wrong way, my fellow introverts. But what I mean is that a lot of copywriters don't tend to share their visually share themselves on social media. Or do interviews, so to speak. So So I say that I'm an introvert to demonstrate that I'm quite a emotional and feeling person. And that allows me to really take on the personas of who I need to take on to be able to speak to that audience effectively. So whether that is through whatever the ultimate outcome is of that piece of copy, will vary depending on who I'm working with. But the number one thing as a copywriter or content creator, even as an entrepreneur, even if you're not a copywriter, whenever you sit down to create a piece of copy, whether it's social media post, a website, email marketing, your course, even the conversations that you have with people, you have to be able to speak in their values in order for your message to land. And so that's definitely where I come in.
Love it. That's so cool. So you do copy for quite a lot of different people and different sort of like industries and stuff. I guess you probably learn quite a lot, right? Like
I love the variety.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you always have like something new and different. What sort of extremes did you work with? And I'm just putting you in the spot right there.
What do you mean by extremes, Lewis?
As in, like, what sort of industries that you worked with that they are just you didn't expect to work with them at all, and you're like, wow, that was something cool because I learned a lot, and it maybe even made like a bit of impact in your life because they're all course creators, like you learning stuff from them as well. You know what I mean? As you help them,
So I guess what I'll say about that is that every client and industry that I have the privilege of working with, it changes me in some way. And excuse me. And that's why I love the variety of what I do, is because it's constantly learning and changing and adapting. So the copywriting process, I mean, you can read hundreds of books, you can have your frameworks by all of the, well-known salespeople. Those things don't really change. So, really anybody can put a framework in place and become a copywriter if you put in enough hours to learn the frameworks. What I love about what I do is my ability to take on a new skin, to take on a persona. So I love when people come to me with all different industries. I tend, though, to predominantly attract the health and the wealth industries. That's predominantly who I seem to attract. And I think that, the world is a mirror. So I think the reason that I attract health and wealth is because I'm also a yoga teacher, so that, the health is an important aspect to me. And equally, so is wealth, because I think that in order for us to go out and serve powerfully every day, we can't have financial concerns hanging over our head. So, health and wealth are the two really important things in life, in my perspective.
I agree. Cool. Thanks for sharing. I just put you in the spot right there. So, what sort of advice you would be giving to people that want to write their copy? Let's say they're just starting out, they just want to kind of because I work with a lot of clients and they actually like writing their own copy, and then they might contact you and be like, well, can you review and sort of like adjust everything? But sometimes they actually like to write it. So what sort of advice you would give to people that want to be writing their own copy?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point as well. And something that I do a lot of is repurposing or editing, because, particularly for people starting out, writing your own content is a great way to, feel connected with your market, understand their pain points, understand their challenges, and understand how you are actually the problem solver for those. So, it's so valuable for people to do it themselves as well, particularly when they're getting started out and perhaps can't engage with a copywriter. It is about learning as many frameworks as you can, because it's not just words on a page, regardless of what people might think. There's an entire science behind how you engage with someone. And then it depends on the platform or the medium that you're engaging with them. So the way that you shape an email will be different to how you shape a website, versus how you shape a Facebook post versus how you shape an Instagram post. Like, it just continues to change because each market there is different, but also to the way that the eyes land on different platforms changes as well. So I think knowledge is power, and it's so important to go out and get yourself as much knowledge as you can until you're ready to delegate. I think we may have frozen.